Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah.
Another episode of Trash Talk. I'm TJ O'Connor. With me, as always, Damian the Wolverine Hill. Trash Talk is brought to you, as always, by the sponsors of the show: Valhalla Combat Sports Incorporated, Ink Shrinks Tattoo, Origin Wellness CBD, Spartan Martial Arts, the Striking Institute, James Clark Sports Psychology and Hypnosis Therapy, the Fighters, my mom, Damian. Here we are. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing really, really good. I'm honestly like I'm thinking of I was going through all of the messages that I got after the fights had happened, and one of them stands out in particular. And crap, I'm blanking on who sent it to me right now. Sorry. If this is your question, leave it in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to give you a special shout out. But how do we feel about the fighters that because so many people have responded and commented on the fight video of the live fights that had just recently went down, commenting that they can't wait to get back in. When can they fight? And James Clark's show isn't a bad show, but it's definitely not the cream of the crop when it comes to MMA shows. And there's been a lot of high-level talent reaching out to Jim asking to be put on his card. The question was, do we think that other fighters are going to rush back into the game and not necessarily make the smart decisions or take the smart fights or follow the same smart path that they had been following before the quarantine? And now with that itch, everybody's just wanting to get in there. Do we think that people might make those same mistakes or mistakes like that when these other promotions start to put on these cards? And it's something that I kind of overlooked because I wasn't even thinking about it. They didn't even ask it on that scale. They just asked it, do you think people are going to rush back? And it just made me the wheel started turning, and I'm just like, oh, wow, that's a really good point. So many things come with that.
Oh, yeah. It's a great question. And I think, to be frank, the simple answer, without proper guidance, yes. I think fighters are going to try to rush back. And that's not to generalize and say everybody's going to do it, but I think the majority of people want to compete. We're talking about people that they do this on the regular, whether it's in the gym or getting a chance to compete under the lights, and they're looking for an escape right now. I think there's going to be a lot of people that have guidance above them, management, that are going to hold them back. But I think for the most part, guys want to compete right now.
Yeah, dude. It's definitely one of those things where everybody wants to jump in, and maybe there's guys that actually have good management and I don't know, good models in the gym telling them, hey, don't do this. But at the end of the day, I mean, when we really look at it, TJ, the managers and the coaches work for the fighter. So if the fighter decides like, hey, I know I want to fight, what can the manager actually do? Do they say, well, fine, if you take this fight, I'm no longer your manager? And is it really worth it over that one fight to destroy a relationship? And then the fighters, you got to understand that you put your manager and your coaches in for a reason.
Yeah.
Like why give that person the job in the first place if you're just going to be like, no, fuck you. Like,
oh man, 100%.
Am I cutting out at all?
A little bit, but I feel like I caught everything you said. It was more choppy than cutting out. And I feel like exactly what you said, and I don't even know if this is the correct answer to what you were saying, but what I was gathering from that is I think it really comes down to the relationship and the fighter and the manager understanding their place. Obviously, as a fighter, they want to fight, and the manager's job is to get them the smartest fights. So if a fighter's wanting to compete, if a manager doesn't want them to take a specific fight, I feel like their obligation is to find another one. The guy wants to fight. You think he needs more time? Find him an easier fight. Do your job. So I think it comes down to knowing your place in the position. So, I mean, obviously, we know situations where the manager's in control, whether they work for the fighter or not. They're pulling the strings here, and that might put the fighter in a precarious situation. But as it should be, the fighter wants to fight. The manager's job is to do nothing but get them a fight. That's literally what they're there for.
Yeah, Well, and then the manager could also take the role of saying like, "Hey, I just don't have anything for you," or they don't want that fight. Sorry,
Oh,
And oh man, but
yeah.
then it comes into the fighter hearing back from the grapevine that they do want to fight, and
Oh,
it just plays into it. So I think it just goes into what you said. If they're itching for a fight, managers find them a fight, make sure it's the right one, do your job. But then also fighters, remember, you put them in charge of your career for a reason. Follow their
oh.
path. But you also got to scratch that itch. I understand, but just try to do it in the smartest way possible. Don't rush back when this quarantine is ended, because there's going to be a lot of shows that are really ready to put on. There's fights going on that just went on last night, last Saturday, and then they're about to be again this Saturday. And it's going to be like that for the foreseeable future until they're all caught up. So, it's just going to make everybody start itching a whole lot more. But be smart. Don't just,
Oh.
everybody else is doing it, I want to do it too.
I think you ended it perfectly when you said the phrase, two simple words, be smart. We're not sitting here telling you to avoid tough fights. That'd be the silliest thing Trash Talk has ever said. We want to see competitive fights. What we're saying is not rushing in and making dumb decisions, because that can easily happen. And if you don't have management as a fighter, sometimes you need to take a step back and not jump on the fights. Speaking from experience, someone who's been there in your corner and seen the way you operate, there were many a times, and when I say many, I mean the strong majority, where I've seen you accept fights with just a date. An opponent wasn't necessary, the weight wasn't necessary, the venue wasn't necessary, it's taking a date. And with all due respect, sometimes those aren't the smartest decisions. But I've seen you win a lot of those fights. Those fights are winnable. But coming off of a quarantine, when guys aren't training at the best of their capabilities, you got to be smart in these times.
Man, okay, one of the things is like, it's hard to tell a guy who just won that they made a dumb decision, but those were dumb decisions, bro. Let's be real. And everybody who thinks that that's cool and shit, yeah, it is pretty fucking cool, but it's still dumb. It is still dumb.
Yeah. Oh, a lot of things that are dumb are so cool. But is it worth being cool to be dumb? Sometimes.
So I guess that about wraps it up. This has been Trash Talk with Damien and TJ. Like this video, subscribe to Trash Talk with Damien and TJ on YouTube. Don't be a hoe.
Batman.